Welcome back to Market to Market. Join me now as I chat with Kenneth Forde, Master Copper Artisan and the man behind Ken's Copper Collections. How long have you been a copper artisan?
Well, I have been a copper artisan approximately more than 25 years, you could say. 25 years, approximately around 25 years.
Where did you learn the art?
Well, if I may add, is like after leaving school at Woodbrook, I learned the art by the master craftsman, artisan, copper artisan, Ken Morris. That time it was more like carnival, so I just get in, whereby he would making like armbands and footbands and breastplates and those things, which tend to have my the little experience, tend to get me into the copper.
How did you move from carnival costumes into jewelry and Ken's Copper Collection?
Oh, well, that is one that I should say is amazing, because what happened is that I worked with him for some years, and after working with him for some years, I decided I worked by the Ministry of Works, although I was still working with him on weekends. And what happened is that it wasn't really steady at that work. What happened is that we were always hearing the staying home people and those sorts of things. So I decided to come out and do my own thing, right? So they were given severance, and I took the little severance, which was very small, which was about $1,000, and I decided to go and do that time we were mainly doing like plaques, but at that time, I don't know what inspiration or what, it just happened that William A. Scott, who is a supplier of the copper, didn't have the plaques, didn't have no copper, so that I couldn't do copper, and I have to live. So I went by Ken Morris, get the scraps, and decide to work within the jewelry.
Tell me a bit about the product lines that you have at Ken's Copper Collection.
Okay, Ken's Copper Collections has a collection, as the collections, we have a collection of jewelry, a collection of plaques, a collection of, what would I say, a collection of gift items, and and also we do custom made things also.
Do you have any signature pieces?
Okay, what I did one piece, which I call it a signature piece, which called the Last Supper. That was very difficult. As a matter of fact, someone has wanted to get one, and they told me, well, could you do one? I took years before I did it. But after finishing it, I decided to keep it as my Last Supper because of the amount of work and the size, the small intricate lines that we have to follow.
So you didn't end up giving it to the guy?
No, it's still on my wall. He always sees me and say, what about the plaque? And I said, well, I will do it for you sometime. I will do it for you sometime, but I don't know if I'll be doing that again.
Oh, why not?
Oh, just the time, man. It's the eyes and everything. You see the little line, and I did it smaller, so that intricate work, it's very difficult. All the toes, all the heads, it's 12 faces. You have to get those kind of in detail,
So what do? You looked at a picture of the Last Supper and you just kind of recreated it in copper, or you created your own, out of your own imagination, you were able to do it?
What happened is that we took it from a picture which was transferred onto the copper. And being onto the copper, then we will always beat, I will call it like metal sculpture, because you're beating on both sides. That's what makes it a little more difficult than normal wood sculpture. Because you have to beat on the front, and in the back you have to reverse the beating, which part you use something like plasticine or sandbags and little tools, and you just turn back and forth.
What are the sources of inspiration for your designs?
I should say it's more like, I think I should say the divine. Because after, you will look at the environment, and I will get ideas and different things to put things together to make it into one. But after looking at all the different designs I did within the last few years, it's hard to really explain normally I'd be amazed at times to see the amount of designs. And people always come with that question, asking those questions about that.
How many designs do you think you've done over the years? Hundreds, thousands?
I will say hundreds, could reach thousands, and because jewelry and plaques and everything.
Where is your copper sourced?
My source is at William H. Scott and at Trinidad Oilfield Supplies, Vistabella.
So you get everything in Trinidad?
Everything in Trinidad.
Do you use any other materials in your jewelry?
Well, in jewelry, I do mix. I have copper, brass, leather. I even nickel plate the copper so that people could have silver, because some people love a silver product, And what gave me that inspiration to do that is that I did some accessories for Heather Jones. And within all the clothing and thing, if you have one copper piece, you would not need another copper piece to go with the rest. So what I started to do, I did the brass and copper, which wasn't good enough. I didn't find it was good enough still. And then I venture into the enamel, where you could get colors, bright colors to match whatever outfit you need.
I was reading that some researchers have found that copper actually has health benefits. Do you believe this is true? Is that one of the reasons why you might have chosen to work with copper?
Not really. Working with Ken Morris, it was a malleable product, was soft, where you could move into it and you get your heights and your levels, rather than brass, which is much more hard and it will burst. But within the line of the medical side of it, is that researchers are still researching. But what I did read about that is hundreds of years now, they realized that copper did relieve arthritis, pains, and so forth, and it could have been absorbed by the skin. This is why people tend to have copper bands and wear copper bands for years now.
So have some of your customers probably come back to you saying that they purchased a band and now the arthritis pain has been reduced, or?
Yes, that happened to me. A little story I should give you, that there's a tailor that I normally go by, my tailor, and sitting there all the time, he tend to have his back. He got a lot of spasms and back pains and aches. And he just said, he heard about the copper band and purchased one for me. And the next day, the pain wasn't there. And he was so confused that he gave me back the band because he said he don't know what's happening with his body. I'm sorry, I could not have explained to him what happened.
Where are your collections retailed?
My collections are retailed at different outlets throughout the country. You may get it at Sun Things, you get it at Carrie's Craft, you get it Total Local, which has a booth placed in the airport, and at Twin City Mall, and Carrie's Craft Selection House also.
For those who might be interested in your custom creations, how can they contact you?
Well, my home number is 623-9327. I also have a website, which is kenscopper.webs.com.
You have a booth at the cruise ship complex, so I'm sure lots of tourists coming in via cruise lines to Trinidad and Tobago come in contact with you at the cruise ship complex. What has their response been like to your pieces?
What it has been spellbound into them personally, because they even mention things like, where are these things made? Which part of the States, And we have to convince them by giving them flyers and different things like that, and then they will say, well, okay, yes, and then they will correspond, work with each other, call each other and say, well, come, these are things made here, because they look like they're made outside because of the finish.
Are there any challenges that you encounter as a business owner?
Yeah, the only thing the challenge that I encounter is like the findings for the earrings and different things. I will have to bring them in. And sometimes the cost is, it's very high to bring them through customs and things, So that is the part that I have, the challenge I have.
Your artwork has been exhibited around the world. Can you tell us a bit about that? Where you've been?
Well, it has been to London. It had an exhibition there, which they contacted me, and I sent the things up. I didn't really go personally. And with that, the response was good. But the only thing is that possibly I should have been there where they could have gotten the information correct, and possibly may have carried a little further. And then I did explore the Caribbean through Caribbean Gift and Craft Show, which I went to many islands like Antigua, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and I got some markets here.
You've been participating a lot in the community markets that occur monthly, upmarket, outlet market, etc. Have those markets met your expectations?
Well, yes, most of the time they really meet, because what happens is that I use markets mainly for the purpose of advertising.
And promotions.
And promotion, so that even though you may not make a pound and a crown, at least you will have, it doesn't end here. People will contact you sometime a year after, and you will benefit possibly more than that.
Do you have any plans to expand your business?
Well, I am willing, but one of the problems could be employees. I have to say that everything moves so quick now. Everything is computer. To sit down and pong. You will hardly get the youths or the generation these days to participate in something like that. So that is my problem within that.
Do you offer training in copper artistry?
Yes, I did train a lot of people, but mainly they did things like the polishing, and they didn't venture into the sculpture per se, because of that same factor of having that patient to do that thing.
Is it then that copper artistry is a dying art form, you think?
I should think so. I should really think so. Anytime someone purchases a piece from me, I always mention that it's a dying art form, and within the years, the cost will be out of this world.
Well, we can't have that happen.
But I don't know what to say again. I really don't know what to say concerning that thing. I just hoping that, because, and then to some of the ministries mentioned like to have a place where they could learn the copper, but there's so many intricate things within the copper that you have to have a building where you could have all the things to polish, to even oxidize the acid, is everything. So it's a very hard thing to really put up to.
But you've approached the ministries, probably Ministry of Community Development or even Trade, about what you're talking about? Or
but they approached me.
They've approached you.
And just that they approach, and that was it. Always, oh yes, these are so lovely. We will check you. Take a card from him, and so. And nothing don't come out really after that.
We've come to the end of this week's episode of Market to Market. Thanks for staying with us. We hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know by connecting with us on Facebook and Twitter. I'll see you next week. Take care.